Hello, and welcome to another episode of Solipsist Watched. I am your host, the Social Solipsist, and this week I watched Palm Springs from 2020. Now, last week, I may have kind of alluded to the fact that I was going to watch this because it's a tenuous connection, but Andy Samberg is one of the leads in this film. In addition to that, we also just had Groundhog Day pass, and in the most minor of spoilers, this movie does involve a time loop that's given up in the first few minutes, so it's not really a spoiler, and it's also kind of how it was marketed. The marketing's terrible, by the way. Don't pay attention to it. This got a rough release. It came out in the middle of 2020. I believe it went to Sundance before the pandemic. And then the distribution rights got picked up by Hulu, of all places. It also went to a few drive-in movie theaters, but it was primarily Hulu. And so, performance-wise and visibility-wise, pretty rough go for this film. But it got a lot of praise at Sundance, and I think it deserves it. I was very pleasantly surprised by this film. Now, I have some people whose opinions I trust had told me that they enjoyed it, and those are people whose opinions I tend to agree with, but I wanted to see for myself, obviously. And yeah, this film has a lot really good going for it. Now, don't take too much from the time loop / Groundhog Day comparison. It's not some sort of like sequel that isn't a sequel or some such thing. It does its own thing. So that should alleviate any of those concerns right off the bat. It is essentially a romantic comedy, possibly to a greater extent than I really expected. However, it does enough that is smart and interesting and different and contemplative that it prevents me from my usual feelings about romantic comedies. I'm not real big on romantic comedies, and not in the typical dude bro, oh, I hate romantic comedies, they're so sappy kind of way. I'm mostly bored to death of romantic comedies because they're mostly really dull. Just like not believable people, not believable situations, not interested, not even fully fledged characters, anything typically very dull. And so I tend to avoid them. I won't deny that. But I'm not against them. There's some that I really, really like that are, in the upper echelons of my favorite movies. But they are few and far between. And this now has a place in that pantheon. It's probably in my top 5 of what would be considered romantic comedy films. I'm discounting things that are comedies but with a side romantic track. That's sort of a separate thing. That also tends not to be great, but I digress. Anyway, this film is great. The plot is simple. The characters are complex. The way that it uses the premise is really smart and inventive. It's interwoven with the cinematography in a way that I think a lot of films would not be smart enough or snappily written enough to pull off without either confusing or boring the audience. it makes really, really good use of the idea that the time loop idea. The dialogue's really good. It's written by Andy Ciara, who is not somebody I'm familiar at all with. I think he has a few other small scripts, but to his name, but like this one's really excellent. Directed by Max Barbacow, also not a name I know at all. I believe the two of them sort of produced, wrote, kind of worked on this together. I think I read something that they were like school friends or something like that. But this is really good. The dialogue is snappy. It's paced well. Characters are fantastic. They give just enough detail in every character and every scene and every like thing that goes on to keep you invested and give you something new to chew on without like overworking anything or falling into tropes. The only real like romantic comedy tropes that it uses are used in smart ways, or subversion, direct subversion of those things. And the characters are just so charming. The two leads, Andy and Kristen, who play Niles and Sarah, they're fantastic. They're like, they've got great chemistry on screen. I commented before about how I don't think Andy has a lot of breadth in his acting chops, but the casting is fantastic, and he plays the character really, really well. I've never seen Kristen before in anything else. I guess she's got some TV shows and things to her name, but she's also really excellent. They work really well together. The cinematography does a great job of showing a lot of the nonverbal acting that they do as well. Like shot composition and lens choice are all super important, especially in a relatively low budget film that's not cashing in on the spectacle of the visuals. Focusing on what's important with the camera, and making sure that the actors get the figurative spotlight they deserve to do their acting, is executed excellently. I was just really pleased the overall technical execution. There are a few times that are actually like there's a few moments of cinematography that I think are really, really good, kind of extraordinary. Otherwise, it's mostly just like solid, really solid. I would have liked if they had leaned into some of the lighting techniques a little bit more severely, but it's like, that's hardly a nitpick. That's just a personal artistic choice. Overall, I think it's executed really, really well, and shot in a way that feels very intimate and connects you to not just one character, but multiple characters, and makes you does some smart stuff to make you feel for different perspectives. It's just, it's incredibly charming. I'm just like, it made me laugh a lot. I still have kind of a dumb grin thinking about a lot of the stuff in the film. But there's also a very like deep, heartfelt melancholy to it, to a lot of it. And while I'm not going to say that it's some like philosophical masterpiece or some such thing, I think it delves into a lot of topics about personal growth and personal outlook and personal philosophy and how one affects the people around them. and what responsibility people have to each other to fully express themselves or to appreciate the feelings of others and that sort of thing. But I'm delving too much into the minutia at this point. I just really like some of the discussions the film has, and it's not pretentious. It's not trying to like raise some great philosophical questions or anything like that. All of that compliment that I give it is in service of a smart script and good characters and building those characters out, and giving them really believable conflicts and believable points of conjunction, of commonality, and just sort of see almost, if you told me that this was much more freeform than it is, if you told me it was like improvised, I would kind of believe you. Not in a negative way at all, in the sense of like all of the discussions feel extremely natural. And again, that's a credit in addition to the on-screen chemistry. All of the other characters that revolve around the main two are also like, they're used really well. They're all, have just enough features to just enough character of their own to be who they need to be in the story, and sort of these reflection points that the main characters can bounce off of. It's just like I wish I had a better way of talking about this, but I also don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil the feeling of it. It's just very cute and very heartfelt and pretty funny. And like I said, is going to go up there in a high list of movies I like, and definitely going to get a few rewatches out of it. Again, I think it's a shame that it's only available on Hulu, but it's good enough that if you have a Hulu account, you should definitely watch it. If you don't, the either finding a friend who has one that you can borrow, or getting a 1 month account or whatever. They think they still got the free trial going for people who want it, or even paying for a month, I think is absolutely worth the cost of entry. I'm going to be bummed if I never see anything else out of the writer and director. I think they do a really excellent job. I think this is smart, and it will probably go underappreciated for a long time. So I'm sort of here to sing its praises, and it's not perfect. It's not like really deep, but it's really quite good. Anyway, thank you guys for watching another episode of Solipsist Watched. I've been your host, the Social Solipsist, and I'll see you guys next time.